It's pretty incredible when you think about it. What's the real journey from a simple idea, like a lemonade stand, to a company that literally changes the world? Well, today, that's exactly the path we're going to trace. We're going to explore how those basic principles you learn as a kid can scale up to build the giant unicorn companies of tomorrow.
All right, let's map this out. First, we're going to start at the very beginning, the whole purpose of having a job in the first place. Then, we'll get into what you need to actually do that job. After that, we'll face the tough stuff, the hurdles every entrepreneur hits. Then, we'll look at a secret weapon, family. And finally, we'll zoom ahead to see how the next generation, Gen Z, is completely changing the game.
So, Section 1, the first job. Before we even whisper the words profit or market share, every single business, I don't care if it's a tiny little stall or a massive tech startup, it's born from one simple idea: helping someone out.
At its absolute core, a business is there to solve a problem for somebody. It's not really about the money, not at first. It's about creating value. Think about it. A teacher gives you the value of knowledge. A baker gives you the value of amazing fresh bread. That's simple exchange. That's the engine for our entire economy.
So this probably gets you thinking, right? What was your first job? Maybe you were mowing lawns or babysitting or washing cars in the neighborhood. Whatever it was, you were solving a problem for someone. And that impulse, that need to solve something and create value, that right there is the entrepreneurial spark. Okay, so let's move on to Section 2, because once you've got that idea, that spark, you need the right gear to make it a reality. And this is where we go from talking about simple tools to talking about capital.
And I mean, every single job needs tools. It doesn't matter if you're a gardener who needs a trowel or a coder who needs a super specific programming language. The rule is universal. Even a crazy, made-up job like a rainbow painter needs brushes and paint to bring that idea to life.
And this slide, this is where you can really see that evolution happen. For a little kid's first venture, the tools are things you can hold: crayons, paper, maybe a watering can. But as that business grows up, the tools get way more complex. They turn into these big, abstract things like capital, expert guidance, and really solid mentorship. See, the need for tools never disappears. They just mature right along with the business itself. But of course, just having a great idea and knowing what tools you need, well, that's only the start. So in Section 3, we have to talk about the entrepreneur's obstacles. Because let's be real, the journey is almost never easy.
And research points to 3 huge roadblocks that come up again and again. First, getting access to money, to capital, is tough because traditional banks can see being young as a big risk. Second, it's hard to find good advice and mentorship from people who've actually been there and done that. And finally, there are the internal battles, that voice of self-doubt that can stop even the best ideas before they even get started.
Okay, so with all those massive hurdles, how do young entrepreneurs ever break through? Well, that brings us to Section 4, the family factor. And this isn't just some nice little bonus. It can be the absolute game changer.
And this is a huge point. Research shows that having strong family support is way more than just a pat on the back. We're talking about early-stage funding when no one else will invest, priceless advice from experience, and just the confidence boost you need to get past those psychological walls. It's often the bridge that gets you over all those obstacles we just talked about.
All right, for our last section, let's look to the future. Gen Z takes the lead. This new generation is already shaking things up, and the research is giving us a pretty cool preview of what the business world is going to look like around 2026.
One of the biggest trends we're seeing is this explosion of individual ventures. It's a massive shift. This is a generation that is so eager to start their own thing, whether it's a solo passion project or a small, scrappy company. That old-school, traditional career path, yeah, it's being totally rewritten right now.
And this slide really lays out the unique toolkit Gen Z is bringing. They value getting practical knowledge super early on, they're focused on being smart with money, and that foundation lets them tackle problems in new ways and build their companies with leadership styles that are way more collaborative than what we've seen in the past.
Which brings us right to our final thought. We've gone all the way from that simple childhood urge to help someone, to a whole new generation armed with new tools, new support systems, and totally new ways of thinking. It really leaves us with one massive question. Starting from that very same simple place, how is this new generation of entrepreneurs going to change the world?